Okay, bismillah. So I'm just checking in this folder if I started my recording. I'm gonna exit. So hello there. This is where we left off the last video, and we are just gonna start here. So just to recap what we have did in the last video, we have imported Selenium, or we have imported the WebDriver from Selenium. We have imported the time module to sleep sometime in the code, just to load some things up in the page. So let's just exit the file now and see what the script does. Okay, so let's do Python GoogleBot clear. Okay, the function will run. Okay, this is a print function or a print statement. Let's go in to google.com and it will search for what is Selenium Python. It will wait for it, and it will exit manually from the page. So this is what we made it do the last time. So let's just do this. So here we are again. So what I want to do in this video is to implement the class object in Python to improve our script here. So how can we make this a class in Python? How can we use this to do the same job, but we are gonna convert it to a class? So let's just start and do that and explaining things on our way through. So to define a class, we use the class keyword in Python. So if you don't know what a keyword is, just open a new tab on your favorite browser and give it this. So print or give it this search for Python keywords. What are Python keywords that are out there that we use to define or so list of keywords in Python programming. Okay, let's go to this URL, and there are false, none, true, and as, assert, so etc. So there are a lot of words. That's French, so let's minimize this for now and let's continue. So our class's name should be GoogleBot, just like the file's name, and we are gonna just give it an object to inherit from. First things first, in any class you should give it an init and thunder init method, and what this means is this should be a constructor or a constructor in our class. So if you have come from another language programming, you have a background on any other programming language, you have to know this method, or you already know this method. So the thunder init in Python is just to build our constructor in our class. So let's give it what it will do. So let me just open my Sublime text here. Gonna do some other job in the okay, so let's close that. So let's do self driver. What we are doing here to initiate the web driver Firefox instance, and what I mean by this self is this variable here, or this instance, is referring to the object itself. So it belongs to an object on this script. So let's do self.driver equals WebDriver.Firefox. Self URL, we're gonna give it the URL https google.com. Okay, let's do that. A lot of spelling mistakes today. So self.driver, I'm gonna get the self URL and self. Okay, so let's just stop right there. So this is all we need to initiate the our instance. So let's do that. And what so our main function is starting the WebDriver Firefox. It is giving it a URL here, and it sleeps for 2 seconds. So let's just do that in the constructor itself. So let's do time sleep 2 seconds. Okay, let's go back and create another method that searches for this element. So search box elements drive dot element by find element by name. So here I think it's looking for the search box element by its name on the page. So let's do we're gonna define a method when a function exists on a class. It's called a method. So let's call it find elements and give it a self, because it belongs to a class or an object in the language. So find elements self, what it will do is to search. We're gonna define the search box element, or just give it search box for now. Give it the self driver and find the element by name, by Q. Its name is Q. Okay, search box send keys. So let's just make sure it's clear for now. Search box again. So this method here is just clearing the search box for us. So if the search box already has some characters on it, it's gonna clear it for us to give it the new excuse me, the new input. So search box. Okay, so we're left off. So let's give it the self box, and I'm gonna send some keys. What is Selenium? Okay, that's our keyword here, or keywords rather. So let's do a submit button. Let's search for it. So this submit button should be, let's not give it the element keyword, right? So let's do self driver. Okay, yeah, self driver find element by XPath. Okay, I have to copy the XPath from here to here. Okay, so after that, like we see here, after we have found the element, I'm gonna submit it and click it. So submit the submit button dot click. So I'm gonna click my button. After that, I'm gonna time sleep for 6 seconds, and after that I'm gonna close my driver. But before that, I'm gonna create a new method to close our session. So let's call it close session. Self. After that, let's do self driver dot close. Okay, I think that should be it. So let's go right down here. I'm gonna delete this print statement for now. Gonna delete the main. I'm not gonna print anything, but I'm gonna create an instance for our GoogleBot. So let's create first, or create, not, I don't know what I'm gonna name this. So let's GoogleBot, let's do Google instance and give it GoogleBot for now. This is gonna start the constructor that we have in here, which is gonna self-driver, which is gonna initiate a Firefox session and give it the URL and sleep for 2 seconds. After that, it's gonna wait for another method that we are gonna give it, and the method that we want it to execute is find elements. So I'm gonna Google instance to access the method inside the class, so find elements, and I'm gonna go back here. I'm gonna give it find elements, and okay, I'm gonna exit the file for now. And okay, we forgot one thing. So I did start the class by creating the constructor. I did find the elements. I used the function here, or the method rather, but I didn't use the close session. So I want to close this session, or my session, after I did start my browser. So after the job is finished, I'm gonna close my session. So session, okay, save and exit for now. Python GoogleBot, and wait for it to execute. So minimize this a little bit, make this small to see the output if the script gave us an error. So it's doing its job now. It's gonna wait, and it's done its job already. So it's gonna exit from the file or the browser because it's already complete. The job is already complete. So we did succeed in converting the function to a class. So let's go back to our script again and just recap what we have done. So first things first, let me just delete this because it's not of any use for us anymore. So let's just do this. Okay, so let's see, and it's just gonna run again. Let's test another test. Okay, so it's gonna do its job again. There is no errors. So I want to add a new feature to our search, to our bot, to our GoogleBot here. And what I want to add is to give it just a file, and a file that contains some terms, and it will automatically search for those terms for me. So let's just create for a .txt file for now. Go back here, remove the log file. Okay, so I'm gonna create a file for now. Let's call it terms to Google, for example, .txt. Okay, I'm gonna vent into that file, give it some terms. For example, what is Python? Okay, how to write to a file in Python, which we are gonna learn in this video, by the way, because we are gonna use that feature, and how to grab, or how to, okay, so let's do how to automate Google search. Okay, and one last thing, what is the difference between mutable and immutable in Python? Okay, that's a good one right there. We are gonna go for that in another video for now let's just do, okay, we created our file and we gave it some, as that cat was in it, gave it 4 things for our Google to search for. And our first task for now, let's just make our script to read, or our GoogleBot to read what's in this file. So let's do that. So first things first, let's go to Google and let's do getTerms function. Let's create a method that is called getTerms and give it a self. Okay, let's pass it just for now. And what are we gonna use? I'm gonna use a context manager, the with context manager. I'm gonna use the open method and the file's name. So terms to google.txt. So in the future, I'm not gonna even specify the name automatically or manually in the file. So I'm gonna just use the argparse library to give it CLI arguments before it's even run. So I'm gonna do that in the next video or the other one. So let's just continue for now. So open to terms to google.txt as a file, so let's pass that. Okay, so let's do for line in that file. I'm gonna do line equals, okay, so let's just print it for now. Let's print line to the screen. So let's .w to save the file, and what I'm gonna do is to not find elements, but okay, so let's comment that out. Let's comment all of this. Let's comment that. Let's do comment here and here. So let's do pass here. Let's do pass. Okay, do not get any errors after that. Okay, what's the next step here? I did comment that, so let's create or let's rather initiate the method, or let's run it. It's instance, okay, dot what's in there, that is name getTerms. So I just want that getTerms to run, and there is no close session, so there is no session to be closed. So let's just do that. W key. Okay, so let's do Python GoogleBot. Okay, so it read the file for us. So but there is some new lines here that we are gonna get some errors if we did run them with the Google search engine. So let's just make sure there is no new lines in there. So let's GoogleBot, let's edit the file. Let's go here and give it line equals line dot replace the new line to an empty string. So let's print line. Okay, let's print lines. So let's do Python GoogleBot. Let's do what it let's see what it does, and there it is. It's the new lines have been replaced to empty strings, and there is no addition new lines. So let's go back and delete the print line. We don't actually want it to print anything to the screen, but rather I want to have a variable here that's gonna take the self terms, or a list, not a variable. Create a list, an empty list in the constructor, and give it a, so we don't actually need to pass this anymore because there is a list in here. So let's do an empty list. After this, after replacing replacing the new line to an empty string. For each line, I'm gonna add that line to my self.terms list. So let's append that. Okay, so we did that. After this, I'm just gonna print the self.terms to the screen. So let's go back again, and it should return a list. So it did actually. So there is no new lines. So let's go back and make sure our Google search will initiate again. So let's delete the comments. Okay, let's actually comment the print. We don't need it anymore. It's just for us to be sure, or to make sure we did the job right. Let's delete the comments again here. So it's gonna initiate the GoogleBot. Okay, this is an instance, and that instance is gonna initiate a Google session, or a Firefox session rather. It's gonna take, or it's gonna give it the self URLs that contains a google.com string. After that, it's gonna self give that to the browser. After that, it's gonna sleep for 2 seconds. After that, it's gonna create an empty list. So what we did after that is gonna find elements. So we don't actually want this find elements to work this way, so I'm gonna create a new function. So that function should take one elements from our self.terms at a time and search for that element in Google. So let's see how can we do that. So let's go back, create a search for term method, search for term, give it a self because it's in a class, and pass it for now. And let's just comment this out, comment everything. So let's see, the find elements is gonna search for the box, and this is gonna give it the find element by name. So it's finding the search box by its name. After that, it's gonna clear it. After that, it will send the keyword. So this is the part that we want to change in our search for term method. So let's do that. So for term in self.terms, okay, so let's so I actually did something here. So for term in terms, so that's right, we did create the list. So let's do for term in terms, I'm gonna create a search box variable that's gonna be the same as the one below it. So let's just do self-driver.find element by name for now. Give it the q, give it its name. After this, I'm gonna do search box clear to clear it. After this, I'm gonna do search box to send the keys of that term. So let's do that. So search box send keys, and I'm gonna give it a term that we took from self.terms. So go back here and do submit. a submit button. Submit button. Okay, I'm gonna create a self driver dot find element by XPath, not elements, because that will return a list eventually. So let's give it the okay, let's delete this. Okay, that should work. Okay, that's the exact thing, I think. Okay, let's go back here. After submitting or creating the submit button, I'm gonna click it in order to initiate the submit method or the submit function on the page. So after that, I'm gonna just leave for some seconds, for 10 seconds, in order for us to see the actually see the page and what it did find for us. So that's the last step in our for loop. And after this, actually, if we just leave it like this, it will eventually return an error, and that error will be that it couldn't find the search button or the submit button anymore after it will try the next term. So let's just see that in action. So let's GoogleBot. So okay, I forgot again to uncomment our thing. So let's go to GoogleBot. I forgot to uncomment the find. Okay, not the find elements. I want to get the terms first. Okay, after this I want to search for term. Okay, say Google instance search for term, gonna execute or call that function, and after that eventually I want to close my session. So but it won't do that because it will give me an error. So let's see what that error is. So let's take this here to see the output. It's gonna look for the first one, but the next one is gonna find a hard time to execute that. So let's see that in action. So after this, it will look, but it won't find the one. So that is our error. So unable to locate element. So it was unable to locate the submit button on our page again. So how should we solve this problem? So let's just try to keep it simple and redirect our whole script to the start again. Not to restart the function, but to restart the Google session. So let's just give it the self.driver.get function that we used earlier to go to Google, and I will just give it the self URL again to start from there, but with another term to look for. So let's give it that and let's see what it will do. So let's close this for now. Let's close this, we don't even need that one. Let's go Python GoogleBot.py and let's wait for it. So this one should not give us any errors anymore, hopefully. So that's the first term. What is Python? Welcome to python.org is the first URL. Go back to Google and give it another term. So with this process, it will never any errors will never appear. So it's gonna go back to Google after 10 seconds and give it another element, and after 10 seconds again it will go back to Google and give it another term to look for. So there it is. It's given it another term. What's the difference between immutable and immutable objects in Python? So simple. Okay, so there it is. The job is done. So the script did its job and it just completely got out of the browser session. So just to recap here, for the last time in our video, we did start the GoogleBot, we did create a class named GoogleBot. We did create a constructor with the $init method, and we gave it a self.driver to initiate our Firefox session. After that, we did create a self.url variable and gave it the google.com URL. After that, we gave this session our URL to initiate or to start giving requests to the browser. We slept for 2 seconds and created another self.terms empty list. So that empty list is the one that we used in the get terms to store our terms. So every term that we took from this has been appended to the terms list. So every term that we took from this file, so we did create an empty list that we are going to use after. So we did here, so let's just start from the if condition here. So after initiating the browser with the constructor method, we did however get the terms first. So getting the terms was the process where we opened the file that's named terms to google.txt as file. So we did that with the with context manager. So we started a loop for line in file, line equals line.replace a new line to an empty string to not have that addition new line in our line. So self.terms, here we used our empty list in the that we did create in our constructor previously to store every new line we get from this terms, and those were just 4. So we have two terms to look for. After that we did search for the term. So we did define a method here, a class method, and initiated a for loop again to take from the self terms a term every time, and did however execute these instructions upon that term. So what we first did is to search and find the search box element in the web page. So its name was Q, so we did find it by its name. After that, we did clear that box session or that box element, just in case it has it was already came with some keywords however. So after that, we did send it the keys of our term. So whatever term was given from the terms.google.txt that was itself given its terms one by one to the term list, it took that in this function one by one again, and every time it took one of them, it will run these instructions on it. And what it did here is to find a submit button by this XPath and click it in this line here. It waited for 10 seconds, that is the time that we so this is what this line does. So this time dot sleep dot 10 or 10, it just made sure that our browser will wait 10 seconds before it will go back to its main page and do the job on the next term on the list again. So that's what it does. After that, we did close this session, so we didn't use the find elements anymore. So actually we don't even need this anymore, so let's just delete that. So let's delete this. So that is that. Close. Got our GoogleBot thing, and this is the script. If you want to write it down, I will put this in my GitHub repository. So remember, there is always something to learn. Take care.